Why did I even listen to anybody? I knew I couldn't do it.
You should feel bad for yourself.
I'm scared.
I'm brave.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nicholas Davenport here from Mind.Body.1, and what you just saw was some clips of some of our clients using the sledging feature on our Think Fast app. Now, the reason I want to get into this is because sledging is something that's not talked about a lot in performance psychology, or at least in the framework of how we're describing it. You probably don't even know what sledging quite is, but as you saw, there was negative or unproductive self-talk or external talk going to the participants. And that's what sledging is. Now, it's a term used a lot in cricket for taunting, trying to insult, to mess up the performance of the athlete. But I said, why can't we take that a little bit further? Now, I want to make this video because one of my friends sent me a clip from Instagram of a baseball player, a pitcher actually, warming up in the bullpen during a game, and the fans on the other team were taunting him. So let's look at that and see it in real time in the actual game.
Oh! That's down low! Come on, 4-2, you gotta fix it up! Somebody pissed in his water. Here we go! Oh! Coach, are you sure this is the kid? Coach, where's Maltman? Where's Maltman, Coach? Oh my God! Coach, are you sure you don't want me to go in? This guy has nothing!
All right, so you can see they were pretty unforgiving, and it was kind of even funny, but you can see his performance from pitch to pitch kind of shifted, and he tried to ignore it. Now, it seemed like he was pretty cool under pressure, but the performance outwardly can be affected, and you see even the coach trying to ignore the distractions. Now, when it comes to how do we do this in real time, that's why we created the sledging feature, because how else would you train this other than doing it in the game? Or you can simulate it during practice with teammates, but we want to make it more interactive. And that whole point of the tools that we create is not necessarily to be over the top, but to make practical solutions that you can replicate and use over and over. And we actually are able to measure the intensity of the sledging as much as we can on our app by quantifying it by intensity, which is how many seconds between each taunt. And we have internal and external, so it could be things that I'm saying to myself. So it's not outward taunting. It's more so, I can't do it. I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes. And external, when it is someone saying you can't do it, you suck, it's all you got. And then we can do male or female voices or integrate them. And then we also have crowd noise as such. So you can get loud and annoying and add sirens or whatever it may be. So you can simulate this as best as possible, because in strength conditioning, we talk about SAID principle, specific adaptations to impose demand. Now, this has the same premise outside of strength conditioning. You can look at that in mental performances. We are going to adapt to what we're exposed to. Just like if you do squats, you're exposed to leg muscles contracting, guess what? Your legs will get bigger and stronger. So when we look at how we implement this with a population of mental performance or mental health, how do we get this adaptation? Because typically we're doing counseling or therapy or mental skills education, which is great. I'm not knocking that. It's just that it's equivalent to a personal trainer saying, here's how you do a squat, here's the proper form, and this is how much weight you should use. And then you both just leave the gym. What about the next step of getting under that weight, lifting it, squatting it, pushing it, muscles feeling the fatigue, breaking down the muscle fibers, and then getting recovery and then getting stronger? That's the same way the brain works when it adapts. It has to be exposed to stimulus so the neuron pathways can fire. In this case, we can tie that to emotional, and then we can even add in performance factors so we can measure and see how well we did. So this is what sledging is about when it comes to the application, but let's look at what the science says. Now, I have two studies, I'll put the link in the description, that talked about sledging in different ways as implicated in sport performance, one being cricket. So let's take a look at that one first. So they define sledging as humorous, insulting, or threatening remarks intended to break a player's concentration or intimidate them, primarily used in cricket, but it's comparable to trash talk in sports like football, basketball, hockey, and so forth. Now, the term sledging used is more so it's intentional, as it's allowed in cricket versus it's frowned upon, but people still do it in other sports. But the point is, these are the cues or the things happening to an athlete or a performer to take them off of the game, break their focus, and hopefully mess them up in their intended goal in that sport. Now, it looked at how did the people interpret it? Because when we talk about emotional regulation, how do you handle things under pressure? Some people took it as negative feedback and it made them perform lesser. It got in their head as intended. Or some people use it to uplift them and say, you know what? It fuels me. And I have to work with a lot of athletes that do that. But a lot of things that I practice, I'll tell the athlete, try to not let either or affect you. Now, when I say affect you, I don't mean it can't get to you because we're humans. It's going to affect us, but don't outwardly or even internally let that leak into the performance as much as keyword possible. Because I always say if you use the negativity to fuel you, that's fine, but don't make it seem as if it is a necessary thing. Because I use an example of a pen and writing a book. Do you want someone else writing the book for you, trying to tell your story? Don't give that pen over to someone else, because if you do that, they're going to write it for you to lose if it's a sport, right? And this is seen a lot of times when you get taunted and you get taken out of your game and you start lowering your level of performance to theirs, and they didn't beat you or you didn't lose because you weren't the better person or better team, is because you took yourself away from what you were intending to do. In the second study, looked at the power of emotional regulation. Now, this term gets used a lot as well, but it's about how do we handle emotions when they're thrown at us? Do we outwardly exert it? Do we hold it in? Does it mess us up? So they wanted to see if the person was affected by it, what kind of strategies could help them. And some of the usual suspects were there. Breathing, visualization. And this is great because used with some of our methods, think about it. If you visualize yourself being taunted, some of the things that you've heard before and seeing it in your mind's eye, or making up some crazy scenarios, that's great. You're priming the brain. Once again, going to those neuron pathways. Now imagine you do that, you practice it, then what? You wait to the game, and that's where it's cool. What we can do is we can have you be able to test it out using our app, doing your sport-specific or goal-specific tasks. So this is taking what we already know works, but adding more to it so it can be, once again, put under that stimuli so it can be tried and tested and you can adapt to what you're trying to do. That's the only way to get better, right? Doing what it looks like. And people always scrutinize, oh, it needs to look like what you're doing. I say yes and no. It depends because some need to be more domain specific and some can be more generalized. But the end goal should always be, how am I, one, seeing how their disposition is? How are they reacting? How are they recovering? What are they saying? What are they doing? How do they look? What are their mannerisms? Are they breathing? Are they tight? So you're getting all this subjective information through some kind of objective feedback, and you're adding these stressors to simulate what they might do. So this is what we should look at and take away from not just doing the traditional way, but also seeing ways we can implicate the things that can help us progress. So looking at it from this perspective, yes, sledging could be not as helpful or beneficial, but you can interpret it the way you need to. And that's why we can bring in our feature. So imagine if I put an example, I have someone doing a task where they're interpreting the thoughts of what they're hearing in the sledging track in their ear, and then they have to refute them in real time. So if it's internal, something like I can't do it, they have to outwardly say what they can do and replace that self-talk with something productive.
Can I even do this? Why did I even listen to anybody? I knew I couldn't do it.
3,
Oh, you can help work out.
5, 9, 8, 3, 5, 9, 8, 1, 1, 7, 2.
Nice.
Okay, 3, 5, 9, 8, 1, 7, 2.
And if they do it just stationary, they're not doing anything else, that's fine. That's a good baseline. But you can get more creative and integrate it with free throw shooting, pitching. You could do it while taking at bats, whatever it is. Put on headphones or use a loudspeaker. That's what we do sometimes. And then that way they can do it while doing their sport-specific or task-specific thing. Now, what we also might do is we'll take it to a point where if they're not refuting it, they're doing a cognitive task where they have to focus on processing, Stroop tasks, memory, things of that nature, and have that going on. So now they're using executive functioning, which is planning and using working memory to figure things out.
Am I a burden to others?
I'll never achieve my dreams or goals.
Blue, green, red, blue, yellow, blue, blue.
Red, go to 8.
I'll never achieve my dreams. I should have done better.
I'm not as strong as others in handling challenges.
What if I fail?
Now, the importance of this is every sport regardless of what it is, it requires you to take information in real time, recall old information from your plays or past experiences, and make it make sense right then and there. That's the beauty of executive function and cognitive training. And a lot of people overlook that, and that's a whole other topic. But putting the sledging track on top of that, now you're overloading the actual thinking and processing load, but then you have to figure it out and get a goal directed behavior that has some kind of outcome or measurable score where you can quantify and see how they do from session to session or set to set. So all in all, this is a great thing to use in relevance to, once again, acclimating the person to the intended stressor, which how do we really simulate that? And that's the purpose of what Mind.Body.1 does. We're here not just to give you the skill sets. We do teach you that. We do one-on-ones, we do workshops, but we also create these protocols and these tools to make the intangible tangible. So if you're looking to use any of these tools to implement with your athletes, performers, or just to test out, let me know, because we'll be releasing this soon. And these are things that we want to get more out there, because there is a way to make this field more dynamic to get your mind right. Thanks for tuning in.